And we are live at Irish Medieval History. And I actually just forgot to put in the old PowerPoint slide. Oh, and also I forgot Rachel. Rachel's also missing. Well, we'll sort you out there in a second, guys. I was watching a counter to myself, and I was thinking to myself, what's missing? There's something missing today. Do you know? Let me have an old gawk around here. There we go. Put that here. And play around with the screen a wee bit as we're setting up here on a fine Tuesday morning for me. Monday night for you guys. As you can see, I haven't been asked to shave again. So I still have neck beard going on there. I need to seriously remove that neck beard. It's wild. There I am. I am live. Right. And what else do I need to do? Right. Media. It's only take a second anyway. Presentation. Upload. Hopefully this is the right one. Loading. How's everyone this morning? Or is everybody still coming in? Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. I probably know it can hear me. Oh. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. Oh. Right. Click on this one. Present. There we go. Boom, boom. The old medieval news. Let's wait for people to come in first. Have now chat. Bum, 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 bum. Got myself a drinkable lemon this morning. Right. Today we're covering the old medieval news today, guys. And straight away you might be thinking to yourself, where is Rachel? Where is Rachel today? Rachel actually called in sick at the last moment, so we won't be having any Rachel today. So I'll just be myself running the old medieval news today and covering the old topics, and then covering whatever questions and stuff pop up in the old comment section. So, hi. God, it's very dead today. Right, so the first thing I want to cover today is a new book coming out by the old Cenél. I don't think that made a difference whatsoever. I was expecting that to expand out. I clicked on it. It was like, all right, it'll expand out there. Nah, not doing nothing. But I covered the old, what was it called? This week, we've got a new book coming out. Well, I wouldn't say this week, actually. On around the 4th of November, we are having a new book coming out for anyone that's into Irish medieval history. The book on the Cenél and the Donegal Kingdom from AD 800 to the 1200s. This book, obviously, is very, very important to anybody that's into the history of the Cenél. Of course, they are one of the branches of the Confederation of the Cenél, And if you're an O'Neill, you need this book, because this book literally is the foundations to who are the O'Neill family. As we can see, the rise of the O'Neill family during the early medieval period, especially their dominance around the High Kingship of Ireland, at the time, the heroic of the Cenél Confederation. So, if you're an O'Neill or you're just into early medieval history as a whole, this is definitely one of the top books that you need to get. If you don't have this in your collection and you're into early medieval Ireland or just early medieval history in general, you're massively losing out. That book is going to be coming out on the 4th of November, 2025. And of course, it's going to be a very important book for anybody who is into that kind of stuff. Furthermore, we also have the Assassin's Creed Valhalla. The connection to it? Well, simply, Niall Glundov is in that video game, and Niall Glundov will be in this book as well. So if you're into early medieval Ireland and you very much enjoyed Assassin's Creed Valhalla, the video game, then 100% guarantee you're going to enjoy this book as well, as it really elaborates on this kind of stuff. How are you keeping, man? How are you doing? You can hear me all fine, can you? Have no sip of my drink. Of course, if you guys have any more questions on the likes of this book that's coming out soon, and on top of that, any questions to do with the Cenél, the rise of the O'Neills during the early medieval period, as they go from the early medieval period into the high Middle Ages, or just any questions in general, definitely put your questions down below, as I quickly march on and then cover whatever questions that you guys have in the old comment section. Nice. Also, that's the main thing anyway, as long as you can hear me loud and clear. All right. So that one loads up. Oh, yeah. So we also, one of the most important articles, actually, especially with a lot of stuff I was covering, is the importance of grain. There's a recent study coming out. There's the name of it there on the top in red. And it was covering the centralization of grain, the storage of grain during first and foremost, let me take a step back, actually. What this academic was trying to prove inside the university is if you stored the grain, it shows a level of centralization during the kingdom. And as you know yourself, what you have is the early medieval period, which is a bunch of war bands. They are wandering around the countryside, and they're going around, attacking other war bands, building up their settlement. But there's no form of centralization because you have war bands, you have confederation of war bands coming together, but there's no coming together of, counties and areas and, these little settlements and stuff. They're not coming together to make a realm, and then later on a kingdom, a country. None of these ideas are there to a certain degree. Yeah, we have bits of it with Charlemagne's kingdom, and we have bits of it with the kingdom of Wessex, but for the most part, what you're dealing with is a whole load of decentralization. However, what we can see here is that we can actually track the level of centralization as people are starting to come together and elect or have some form of a king who then sets to centralize these people together. So, you have Dublin and Cork, they're coming together to start making Ireland, and then they're bringing the likes of Galway together, Waterford together. And this is also happening in England, where you have Wessex, and then they're bringing Mercia together and Northumberland, and they're making up the Kingdom of England. France, the same thing. Paris is coming together. Aquitaine is coming together. Not quite like that, but that's kind of the example I'm trying to use, is that centralization is starting to happen. So this academic wants to find out, is this actually the case? And what she actually did find out was that if you track the grain, we can find actually from between the 7th century, where we have these warlords wandering around the countryside, up to the 13th century, we can see that these kings in the middle of it who are running these kingdoms are collecting the wheat tribute. So obviously every single farmer, peasant produces wheat, and then the king wants to collect that wheat and bring it to his main capital. So what we have here is proof that we have this centralization coming together. So at the start, in the 7th century, the farmer would have had his wheat out in the countryside. He wouldn't have, obviously there is no centralization going on at the very start of the 7th century. And if there is, it's very low level. But by the time we get up to 13th century, we have a king at the very top who's collecting all of that wheat. So this is a new academic study that has proven that we're seeing warlords kicking about at the very start of the 7th century. But by the time we get up to the 13th century, we have a king and he's collecting up all the wheat and, having his main gathering point being the storage area. And we can also see that with the evolution of language as well, from English to the likes of Irish and also in French, where we see that centralization slowly but surely happening from the 7th century all the way up to the 13th century. So that's actually a quite very, very interesting and exciting study there to see the evolution of storage during the early medieval period up to the High Middle Ages, going from that period of war bands and warlords up to the period of peasants, knights, and castles. So that's a quite excitement study to definitely see. Right, move on a wee bit. Right, now, last but not least, we definitely see the rediscovery of a castle. Just between Scotland and Ireland, we have the MacDonalds. MacDonald's obviously very, very important to the history of medieval Ireland and Scotland, because MacDonald's played a really, really important role as it says here in the article, as raiders, as mercenaries, and they were very important for the retinue that they were sending to both Ireland and Scotland to fight various wars, especially against the English. Obviously, they would have given their main retinue to the kings of Scotland as Scotland starts to unify more and more and more as we get into the later medieval period. So for a long time, this castle that was the main hub of Clan MacDonald, that was stationed between Ireland and Scotland in the Isles of in one of the main isles, that there the rediscovery of that is very important. Obviously, they've been doing archaeological digs for quite some time now, and they were aware this was a castle beforehand. Basically, a lot of these articles online don't quite understand what is a castle. Basically, what they actually found was a keep. You see a castle here. If you look at this picture here, you can see the very focus here is actually the castle settlement, and the keep of it, which they consider the castle, is at the very back there. So I'm assuming that's the keep, and that's what they actually found. But some of these articles, they're kind of haphazard, they're kind of all over the place. However, they were fully aware that this place was a settlement beforehand, and most likely this was a castle. So what a castle has is, first and foremost, is the curtain. You can see here in the picture that the curtain was discovered, and then we have the tower of the castle there as the main gate coming in. And then you have this castle settlement with the houses and the blacksmith and various other areas inside there. But if you go more to the northeast side of it, you have the keep there, and that's what they actually discovered. So the whole thing as a whole became from a fortified area around the 12th century up to a castle. So eventually they do build the keep, and it's the keep that they couldn't find for a very long time. So they do eventually, recently, I think it was September 18th, on September 18th, they found the keep there that you can see up in the top right of the screen. So that's extremely exciting stuff, especially if you're a MacDonald, to have that identity of the keep, especially related to your name. Or if you're like myself, you're just massively into Gaelic history. That's very important, because I myself am mad into Irish medieval history. I would be into the history of the likes of the MacDonald Gallo-Glass, who served in so many campaigns in Ireland, from the Tamaud rebellion around 1250 all the way up to the Wars of the Roses in Ireland in the late medieval period, when the likes of the Fitzgeralds and the Butlers were fighting over the title of Lord Deputy of Ireland during Ireland in the Wars of the Roses. And the MacDonalds, they had played a role throughout all of that period as mercenaries, these kind of Highland Gallo-Glass mercenaries. So if you're into that sort of history, this is definitely very, very exciting news for you. Right. Any other questions or anything you guys have, definitely comment below, and I'll get through all that questions, as I've just covered basically the main news for this week. Very quick to get through, especially when Rachel's not around this morning. She's all sicky in bed right now. How's Shane and Jim doing? Hope you're all doing well. Oh, that's very good, Jim. If you have any questions, definitely do Irish medieval history. Definitely chuck it down below, and I'll definitely comment and elaborate on any questions that you guys have and stuff. Eating some ice as well. It's absolutely delicious. A bumper for this one here. Right. Oh. Chat is dead this morning, or it's a bit slow. Sometimes there's a bit of a lag between YouTube and also with the old live stream as well. So sometimes it takes an hour and a half with the questions and stuff to get through. 1 second, I'll refresh that kind of stuff there as well. Also, on top of that as well, this week, I actually tried to put it into the PowerPoint earlier, but I don't think it's saved right. I have it here anyway, but yeah, I don't think it's saved right onto the main PowerPoint presentation. But on YouTube this week, there was a whole load of discussions and conversation on the likes of Athelstan and Alfred the Great unifying the Kingdom of England, which I do find very, very questionable, to be quite honest with you, because of the fact that you also have Flann Sinnach in Ireland, and we all recognise King Flann Sinnach, although he was recognised as King of Ireland. His main title at the time, cocky enough, was Flann over Ireland. So around 878, during the period of Alfred the Great, and just afterwards, around 920 to 940, you have Athelstan that dominates the kingship of England and is seen as the great unifier of England. However, I do find it quite funny, because Flann Sinnach, using those terms of, winning a battle and collecting a tribute, Flann Sinnach had done the same thing as well. I mean, the Irish did it as well. You had likes of MacDonald the First, who also allegedly, if you're using that interpretation of, oh, well, if I gather tribute, then you're officially under me and you're officially centralized. I find that term quite interesting. And I think with a lot of discussions that was happening this week on YouTube on the definition of Athelstan, definitely Athelstan, some people even saying that Alfred the Great was sort of the first king of England, technically speaking. And I question all of that, to be quite honest with you, with a lot of discussions that were happening on YouTube this week with Alfred the Great and Athelstan allegedly centralizing England at the time. Because if that was the case, wouldn't Ireland be seen as centralized? Because most of the men of Ireland at the time were giving their cattle tribute and coin tribute. The men of Dublin, Waterford, Cork, and Limerick, they were all giving their tribute over to the likes of MacDonald the First and his son, Flann Sinnach. So why aren't they seen as, the great centralizers? I wouldn't personally see any of them as centralizers, because they didn't have the same centralization that we have today when it comes down to giving out tax and so on and so forth. But what I would like to see is people questioning the English narrative and the English agenda of what is centralization. Don't get me wrong, I know what their ultimate goal is, and their ultimate goal is to make English propaganda that supports, this is England. England has been like this for thousands of years, which to a certain degree is true, but it's not to the level of centralization that we see today. Mm. Because what Elstan does, and don't get me wrong, is the fact that he does get tribute from Northumberland, for a short period of time. But, so does Flann Sinna, but we don't look at his reign as a centralized reign of Ireland because, well, it also doesn't fit in with the narrative and stuff. But at the same time, his reign is always seen as decentralized. He still has full control of Ireland and he's still collecting the tribute. But Flann Sinna isn't seen as a centralized king. He's seen as a decentralized king of Ireland because of the fact he's only collecting the tribute. This is Poland. Poland is here. Here comes the crown of Poland. We Slavs have ruled the Slavic nations for 1,200 years, and we will run the Slavic nations for 1,200 more. We will stand against Moscow, and we will stand against the Holy Roman Empire for another 2,000 years for Slavic independence. Is that what you meant to say in the comment section? Yeah, it's true. But what I'm wondering is, and that's always the argument, they're very quick to turn around and says, oh, well, Athelstan was then, the first major centralizer of England. But I would say he's the foundation. I wouldn't say he centralized England, to be quite honest with you, from my understanding. No, don't get me wrong. It's not my field of expertise. And I am curious when people say and talk about the reforms that Athelstan brought in, what do they mean by these reforms? Like, what's written in these reforms that define centralization? Because of the fact that at the same time we have Flann Sinna and Mael Shocknall the First in Ireland, who collect all the tribute in Ireland, but yet don't are not seen as people that centralized Ireland. Ireland is still seen as decentralized, and I would highlight the fact I wouldn't make the argument that Ireland of Ireland is centralized afterwards. It's still decentralized. Yeah, like that's exactly it. But you kind of see the same thing in Ireland. What was it? Ireland as well, where you have the Cenél Confederation exactly around the same time, or I would say around 850, because Mael Shocknall, he has a rise, like he's rising up from around 840. You could even push him back to even 820, right? Because he's a young fella and he's collecting his cattle tribute here, there, and everywhere. Like Mael Shocknall just doesn't suddenly appear on the scene and is declared High King of Ireland. He slowly but surely builds himself up. And then after his death, his father recognizes him as Rí Éireann, King of Ireland, and he builds a big, massive tribute to him in Clonmacnoise, a big high cross to recognize him as Rí Éireann of Ireland. And then Flann Sinna declares himself, after collecting the cattle tribute off his biggest rivals, the Men of Munster, he declares himself Flann over Ireland, and he literally writes that down, Flann over Ireland. And he also, is doing that case of collecting the tribute. But it's a funny one, because I thought there was another very interesting discussion this week with Gone Medieval, not this week, but the previous week, when they were talking about the Doomsday Book. And funnily enough, the historian wasn't making the argument that England was centralized after William the Conqueror. In fact, he highlights, and this kind of blew my mind, because I always used the argument that the Doomsday Book was proof that England was centralized after 1066. Sorry, after 1080, because that's when the Doomsday Book comes out. 1066 is when William the Conqueror successfully captures England, and then in 1080 he releases the Doomsday Book, which is basically he goes into every single area and he counts exactly how much everybody has, so you can correctly tax them, and that's central. That's a solid foundation of centralization. You could argue that is centralization. Far better than what Athelstan had is the Doomsday Book. However, the actual historian of the Doomsday Book last week, and a person that spent a very, very long time studying the Doomsday Book, kind of swept all of our legs when he turned around and says, actually, this is not proof of centralization because he only does it once. It's only one time he goes to every single area, collects exactly how much tax everyone should pay, and then he just doesn't do it again, you know. And it is a massive mystery in a way because there was enough funding and the foundation of it is there, so why not do it every single year? It's very questionable. It's very strange why William the Conqueror just didn't do it again year after year after year after year, because the finances of it was so good. Maybe he just wanted that good pop. And the historian himself is claiming that it was a fact of he just wanted that, show of force. I am now the leader of, what was it called? I am now the King of England. Are you God? No, I am not. I am not God. I might be mistaken. Bum, bum, bum. I might be mistaken, but I am pretty sure Wessex and Mercia also had amounts of land ownership and tax records. Yeah, I'm not saying there's not individual centralization starting to go on, and that is quite interesting that you do bring that up. But it is, there's not. It is funny because there's even after the Doomsday Book, and it is funny that the historian that specializes in Doomsday Book, kind of swept my legs there by saying, well, it only happened once. That's quite funny. It's also very, very interesting that you highlight the fact that it's Mercia and Wessex that has it. Northumberland is still just off in the north doing its own thing. York, even after the Wars of the Roses, is still kind of doing its own thing, isn't it? Don't get me wrong, this is way outside my field of expertise. But I think that's why when Fitzgerald invades England during the Wars of the Roses, I think that's why he hit the north first, Northumberland and York, is the fact that there was a better chance of them coming together and joining him against the southern English. And I think even today there's a resentment there between the north and the south. The south is more kind of centered together rather than the north. Well, obviously it's all centered to centralized today, but culturally there's definitely a branch off there between the two of them, which is not just geographically, but also historical there as well. You can see that, but that's just my interpretation. Obviously, I want to know what you guys think in the comment section below. I think it's all just made up rubbish, really. They just made it up one day. They got a bunch of books, and they said a bunch of old books and stuff, and they said this is 1,000 years old. We can make up whatever we want because the actual medieval books, they were all wiped out in Henry VIII's time, and then what was left of the medieval books, they were completely gone by the time you get up to Cromwell's period. And then what we're dealing with now is the fact that there is no historical medieval books, and I myself and other people are just making this all up. Okay, that's what I'm starting to think. Bum, bum, bum. Oh my god. So yeah, that's pretty much my waffle for the week anyway. And it only took me half an hour. You guys need to start bombarding me with the old questions there so I can waffle some more. I do not know. It is also way outside my area of expertise. I can imagine that Northumberland may have also has similar, but with how much. Northumberland is also really, 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 really funny because at least Mercia and Wessex for a very long time was kind of kept to itself. It was expected for itself to run its own administration, compared to Northumberland, which throughout the entirety of the early medieval period, there's a lot of times when it's foreigners running the administration. At the very start, you have the common kind of Celtic Breton people who are pretty much off the countryside, just dominated and told what to do. while foreign Romans from Rome come into York and run all the administration from York into the rest of Northumberland. And then, just as the just as what was it called? It was collapsing. The Holy Roman Empire was collapsing. The Anglo-Saxons start to have a push against the local common people until eventually the Anglo-Saxons take over. And then, just as the Anglo-Saxons are settling in with the average Celtic Breton people, then you have the arrival of the Vikings, in particular the likes of Ivor the Boneless. Then we have various kings from Norway and Denmark. So you literally have a three-way fight between the men of Dublin, Norway, and Denmark, fighting over the from 920 all the way up to 1066 of them fighting over the administration of Northumberland. Where Northumberland, rarely ever getting a chance to develop its own, form of centralization and stuff of its own independence. It's always someone else, moving in and trying to run the administration for them. So I thought that was very interesting as well, that you highlighted the fact that Wessex and Mercia was running its own administration. That's also very, very interesting. Like Fekik, the Vikings. Oh, I'm going to keep an eye on that one. Give us a second there. Obviously, I understand the banter of your one there. Like, if you had said that anywhere else, I'd be like, oh, ha, 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 ha. But this is YouTube, so I'm like, give us a second there. Oh, your comment got removed anyway. Someone said Feck, the Vikings, in the comment section, which, yeah, of course, Kieran, what's your background there? Where are you from, Kieran? How come you're anti the old Vikings? Are you from Clonmacnoise, or are you from Armagh or someone? South Carolina. I like South Carolina. I haven't been to South Carolina yet. Really need to get over South Carolina. Having all nosy and stuff. Bum, bum, bum. Of course, if you guys have any more questions and stuff on that, definitely ask me. I was talking about the centralization in England and how I do question centralization in England, and around from, I'd say, around 870 up to around 950, I do question centralization of England. I think they're sort of just telling a wee fibbies to fit in with the old background of it. Just Kieran, there's an opinion of an Irishman, and then there's the opinion of an Irishman who's either from Clonmacnoise, or the difference between a man of Dublin, because the men of Dublin, they're proud of their old Viking heritage, Are you a Gaelic man or are you a Viking? That's the question ultimately. Kieran, you're supposed to be proud of your Viking roots. I'm also from Cork as well. Kieran, what are you? You have to remember, Kieran, like the men of what was it? The men of, well, it's hard to say, the men of South Main Street, because that's where the Vikings settled in. Because what you had was St. Finbarr's monastic settlement, and that was built right now. Well, actually, right. So first off, you have St. Finbarr's, who comes down to Cork and sets up, St. Finbarr's monastic settlement. That's what it was called. And then they were being attacked off the men, what we would call the Rock of Cashel, the men of Cashel. So the men of Cashel, the men of Onocta. What do you mean go away? What's your problem there, Kieran? Are you okay, Kieran? Wait. Okay, let me explain, right? So first off, you have the men of St. Finbarr's, who set up St. Finbarr's monastic settlement. And they go to war with the men of Cashel, which are the men of the Onocta. So the men of Onocta and the men of St. Finbarr's monastic settlement, they go to war with each other. But the men of Cashel, they beat the men of, men of St. Finbarr's, and they kidnap the Bishop of Cork, and they bring him back to Cashel to starve him to death, right? So the St. Finbarr's monastic settlement, they start hiring Norwegian mercenary warriors, basically the men of Luckland, what was it called? The men of Luckland, Vikings. They hire Vikings to go and fight the Onocta for them, and they accept it, and they give them a bit of land, and that's in South Main Street. So if you're a Cork man, you should be allied with the Norwegians. Norwegians, the men of Luckland, who come over as mercenaries, settle down, marry local Cork women, and also vice versa. You have Cork men, from St. Finbarr's monastic settlement, that marry, what was it called? Norwegian women as well, and then later on Danish women and stuff. So Cork is very mixed. If you were from, Clonmacnoise or Armagh, I understand. Oh yeah, Gaelic versus Viking, but Cork, man, you're as mixed as myself. Depending on which way you're going, really. If you were from the Oenachta, from Cashel area and Tipperary, I'd say, oh yeah, fair enough, like. But, you're a Cork man. You can't go and tell the Vikings to feck off. The Vikings are on your side, buddy. Unless you're talking about then later on with Brian Boru. But as Sean Duffy pointed out, the men of, what was it called? Cork and Waterford were on the side of Brian Boru. So even Brian Boru can't make the argument that it was Viking versus Gaelic, because it was very, very mixed, like, depending which way you were with the Irish politics, like. Brian Lacey's book looks awesome. Oh, let me pop back over to that one there. Yeah, I am looking forward to that one as well. The one on the Cenél coming out, and that is on November 5th. If I can see this really small writing there on my side. Actually, I've got bigger writing on this side. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah. His book is on November 4th. November 4th is his book on the Cenél. And anyone who is an O'Neill, definitely go over and pick up that book. You have to pick up that book. Or if you're into the video game Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Niall Glundove is in Assassin's Creed Valhalla. So if you're looking for more stuff to elaborate on the Cenél, which is Niall Glundove, who becomes High King of Ireland after Flann Sin has passed away. So when Flann Sin passes away, Niall Glundove becomes High King of Ireland. He really becomes King of the North. And you've already pre-ordered it. Nice. I should pre-order it, like, to be honest with you. But we'll see how the pocket money is next week. I should pick it up. Sure, I'm meant to be doing this full time and stuff. Let me pop over to the comment section there. I think last week, you asked at the end of the stream, were my O'Connor side of Irish family still lives in? Oh, still lives in. Yeah, do they? Does your family still live up around Cork and Kerry and Kilkenny and stuff? Does it? I agree with you. England is properly centralised post-Norman takeover. I would consider Wessex. Yeah, like, to me, anytime I hear and it's so funny when an academic turns around and says England was centralised. Don't get me wrong. If you're considering tribute centralisation, I would say then, okay, so fair enough, England is centralised. However, what was it called? If you were to consider, 1 second there, Kieran, and I'll get back to you there in a sec. If you would consider just collecting tribute centralisation, then England was centralised. However, Flann Sin, High King of Ireland, he collects all the cattle tribute and then calls himself Flann of Ireland. But yet he's considered decentralised government, which I agree with. I do agree. I agree that Ireland was decentralised. That's why we love cattle raiding in Ireland, So yeah, I would say, I think it's after the Normans onwards, I would say you've got a better argument for centralisation, and that's when England and Ireland do start to become massively different in their governance, because Ireland then starts to have a whole load of growing pains going from its to-it system into it, kind of like king groups that were linked together through marriage alliances, hostages, and marriage alliances, hostages, and fosterage. So you have a whole load of king groups that are all linked together, right? But they're still considered decentralized, because in those communities then they have their own Ria or Ifada, which are kings of their own land, who then give tribute to their overking on top. But it's still somewhat of a decentralized society. that then starts evolving from a decentralized society of Tuatha into the republic that we know today. You can see that evolution happening through our medieval history. England becomes more centralized, it becomes more monarchy, dictatorship. you know? Um, oh yeah. It was funny to this morning, Susan, because it was Rachel an hour ago said that she was warning me last night that she was feeling very, very, very sick, and I kind of knew at that point that she wasn't going to make it. So yeah, I was still going to pass on anyway because of the fact I was very, very busy last night with various bits and bobs I needed to get done. And then this morning I was still trying to get all the bits and bobs done. So then I was just like, feck, it's almost 10 o'clock. I'll just chuck it on there. You guys can all go with the flow. I think stories and news week really all suit of time. Yeah, I definitely agree with that one as well. What part of Cork are you from? I was originally living up. My dad, Jim Hayes, was living up in Limerick, and then what was it called? With the military and everything, he ends up down in Cork, up around the Mahon area, and then from there, we ends up over in Mallow for a good bit as well. So my parents are up in Mallow now. But obviously, I had to immigrate over to Asia because of the bloody housing crisis that's going on. Kieran, no, who's going to definitely say in the comment section, he probably knows my dad. Everybody knows my dad because my dad worked up in, what was it called? He was doing security work up in, oh my God, what's the name of that bar in Cork? Oh, it changed names a few times. It was, the one that's in the center of Cork, Kieran. You probably know my dad now to see him. Yes, my cousins do. I assume County Donegal would have been within the Donegal Kingdom. Yeah, at the time that is the Cenél. But this is the thing about that word kingdom and stuff. What was his name? Dr. Owen O'Neill was saying that to us last week, that trying to have borders and even using that word kingdom and stuff is so funny because of the fact that they're still like that whole thing of fosterage, hostages, and marriage alliance, right? Causes Gaelic society to become a blur. And because it becomes a blur on who owns what territory, what happens is that the borders become insanely blurry. And it's not, and this is why republicanism fits for the Irish way easier than monarchy, right? Dictatorship. But anyway, the reason why republicanism fits in better with us is because the borders within our own realm is a blur because of king groups. Because we don't have clans, we have more king groups than clans because of the fact that a clan would be like a defined family, like we are the O'Briens, we are the O'Neills. In reality, we were more like king group O'Neills, king group O'Brien, because we're related to the O'Briens, like heavily related to the O'Briens, heavily related to the O'Neills. And that's why when a foreigner comes into our society, and this is what's causing so many problems now, is when a foreigner comes into our society, they have to be Gaelicized. We have to marry them. We have to have a few of them come around to the house. We have to have a level of, what was it called? Gaelicization going on with a foreigner. They have to become a part of our community. And because we're suddenly overwhelmed by too many foreigners, we feel like we're losing our Irish identity. And the roots of this go way back to the early medieval period of this Gaelicization. So the Vikings come in, we Gaelicize them through marriage alliances, fostering. So they foster their children to us. We vice versa send children to Dublin. And then also through hostages as well. So we take hostages from them, so we make sure they don't rebel, and vice versa. From time to time, we'll send hostages over to them to make sure that we keep to certain treaties and stuff, depending on what Tuatha has made various agreements with the men of Dublin. So what happens is that all the borders end up becoming blur. And it's not until the English come in that they put down solid borders. So in reality, like trying to find the Kingdom of Donegal, you just can't find it. Good luck. You're just not never going to find it. There is a certain level of this is my land because of, your cattle is inside there. So that's my land to pasture my cows. And that does then cause friction and fighting. When I say friction and fighting, banter between the various cattle raiders in Ireland, which are called the Kerns, which, God, I could literally talk all day about the Kerns because the cattle raiding in the Kerns is very interesting. Dr. Owen O'Neill, what was it? Yeah, this week on your Wednesday night, my Thursday morning, we're going to be covering Irish ring forts with himself. But it is next week that we're going to be covering, the week after that, perhaps we'll be covering cattle raiding with him. The need to Gaelicize to equal power. We need just 1 second. I'll just answer your one there. Bum, bum, bum. 1 second. The need to Gaelicize. It's William. Okay, let me think about that for a second, actually, because that's an interesting question. 1 second. Boom. Bouncing all over the place here. She should have married her kids to locals. She hates it. Yeah, because I don't know Lady Fitzwilliam. That's why I'm just like thinking about that one for a second. Because you do obviously like expand on that one a wee bit more for me as well. Because that's definitely a really, really interesting one. Sorry if I'm skipped some of that one because I just saw that one and was like, okay, I definitely need to, what was it called, elaborate on that one because that's such an interesting one. Because I haven't sat down and looked at Lady Fitzwilliam yet and that, what was it called, example. But that's always funny with the Anglo-Irish, and that's why they end up getting branded. They don't get like within Irish society at that period, they're not called English in the actual book. Like they're kind of, foreign Irish, that kind of Gael word. Earlier on, it was the Gaul Gael. And the reason why they end up getting branded as more kind of foreign, like later on, don't get me wrong, later on they get branded Old English. But at that period, they're branded as more kind of foreign Irish because of the fact that they're not quite digested into Gaelic society. Desmond Fitzgerald is kind of on the tipping on it, and most of the Anglo-Irish within that whole kind of Kerry area, Kerry, my area as well, Mallow area, kind of more Gaelic than the rest of them. Not Anglo-Irish. Is she not Anglo-Irish? This is Lord Deputy's wife. Would you not consider the Fitzwilliams, the Burkes and stuff? It's kind of in that argument, isn't it, though? Bum, bum, bum. Ooh, 1 second. My mom's side was Norman. When 1 second, actually, I have to get back to your one because I've been bouncing around the place. I'm looking at some of the comments here, and they're so kind of random because you guys are saying something, and then you follow up with the next thing, and then you follow up with the next thing. So I'm like looking at the comment, going, "Okay, so what's this conversation?" Bum, bum, bum. Oh, she's English. English. Okay. Yeah, I definitely need to check up on that one. But that's also what's causing the blur as well, is that you do have fresh waves in the 14, because we think of one big, massive English plantation most of the time. Because during that period of this is me talking shite, by the way, in the period of the 14th, 15th, and 16th century, you still have movement of English people, because you can see that even with Art MacMurrough Kavanagh, who's meant to be the Irish of the Irish. and yet he's been what starts the war between him, Archmacmore Cavanagh, the King of Leinster, and the fighting between the King of England, Richard II. One of the main things that causes the fighting is the fact he marries an English woman called Elizabeth de Ville. That's what causes a lot of fighting between the English and Irish in around 399. And even on top of that, it's not as black and white as you would imagine. It's not 100% Irish versus English. It's a blur, because you do have the likes of the Fitzgeralds and stuff who just randomly attack the English unprovokedly, So it's a funny time. My dad's from Belfast. My mom is from Cavan, but her family is from Tip. Some mixed munt. Oh, aye. A Tipperary woman. Yeah. Tipperary family getting with a Belfast family. That would be a mad one, all right. Like your ancestors, ancient ancestors rolling around. The men of Cashel marrying into the men of Armagh, the men of the Cenél. Boom, boom. What else do we have here? Philip, do you know any Irish sources? Oh, God, you're getting different cogs moving there. Source wise, that can be very, 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 very sparse here and there, because I don't know of any manual that's a medieval manual. Plus, on top of that as well, the person who has the field of expertise on that is definitely the Rambling Kern. Adam, have you looked into Rambling Kern's YouTube channel? Let me see there. He should be on my channel there. Give us a second there, and I'll put all the poxies for you. I say poxies, and I mean gets out of my own channel. And I'll pop over to, where am I going? You need to go down to the very bottom of my channel, and I will literally just give you, actually, I can just send you the link. 1 second. I don't think it matters where I go. Rambling Kern, that would definitely be his channel as well, and his expertise. Have you done any Irish mythology videos talking about the gods or Cuchulainn from the Finn? I've talked about here and there the actual massive sources. I wouldn't obviously go into this same stuff that other people do. There's a few good ones that do cover a good bit of meat to do with the mythology of Ireland. And then you just have the majority, which kind of just waffle, made up fantasy stuff from the 19th and 20th century. Most of the stuff I would be talking about mythology wise would be stuff that's written around the medieval period itself. Most of the mythology we know today is most of the stuff that comes from the 19th century. So that's not stuff I would be talking about and covering on my channel. I try to mostly cover the mythology of the medieval period itself from the perspective of the writers. Most of the writers would be medieval monks and stuff that perhaps knew of earlier pagans and stuff. So most of what I talk about is from the perspective of the Roman Church. So, yeah. First time in your live, only joined a few minutes ago, but very interesting listening to you. I'm from Mead, the Kingdom of Mead, with the old Flanshina and Mail Shocknell. Have you played any of the new video games that are set in Ireland and Mead, like the new Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and also you have the strategy war game called Thrones of Britannia, which also covers the Kingdom of Mead as well, and its rise to power under Mail Shocknell and Flanshina. Lady Fitzwilliam was born in Sydney. Her husband was from the old Northumberland as well. Hmm. Interesting. Maybe pop over there. And she. Let me go back over that one again. They need the Gaelic size equal. Dublin is a funny one. Who was looking at that a lot lately was definitely Rachel. Rachel's been actually looking at the administration book to do with Dublin because she was looking for clothing and what clothing could be in and out of Dublin. And she found a whole load of treasures to do with the administration of Dublin. The thing is with Dublin and Galway is sometimes they identify as English not because of they are ethnically English, but because they see them as city civilized. It's this whole civilized, city civilized thing, and everyone outside the city is uncivilized. But sometimes they word the language as in because Galway's not English, like Galway's, all of them people originate from either old French houses or from um, what was it called? Are there old French houses or Gaelic houses merged together? So they would be more considered like Anglo-Irish than anything else. But they are just randomly identify themselves around the 15th and 16th century, sometimes on spite as, oh, we're civilized English people because we're living in a city, and they're living outside of the city walls. So they're uncivilized people, do you know? I think you still kind of get it today with a lot of places where it's like we are civilized city people and everyone outside of the city is uncivilized. But they kind of like push it to the next level of like, well, English people are civilized. We're civilized, so we must be English. They must be wild Irish people, and you can see that in letters and stuff as well. Wild. Bum bum bum. Yeah, Ireland's myth is underrated in my opinion. I think it's class. It is class, all right. For me, it's trying to get through the minefield of actually talking about what is actually written in the medieval period and what period is it's written. So every single time I get a piece of myth, I can't just chuck it out there. I actually have to look at the sources and stuff, especially on the interpretation of what people are talking about. There was one particular myth around Halloween, and it was to do with the Fenian that were coming in, and I heard it off of a guy who was learning the boron because he had painted like a Fenian symbol on the cover of it. So I had to go do the research to it. And he himself had more kind of a 19th century interpretation of who are the Fenian. When I needed to look at the source itself, which kind of tied back more to because most people these days, when they think of the Fenian, they're thinking more kind of Celtic warrior. But when I have to look at it, I have to say, okay, so these guys are cattle raiders. What's the mythology around cattle raiders? So I have to look at it more from a medieval perspective rather than our modern 19th perspective. So that sometimes can be trippy for me, especially when I just, without doing the research, assume. I think everyone falls into it, and I do it here and there. And then later on, when I do more reading into it, I actually trip over and say, "Oh shit!" You're like, actually, this is the reality of what's actually going on. Like, I might grab myself a quick drink there. My dad said his side of the family goes way back to the Dalriada. If I split the Irish kingdom of the ancient Scotland. Now I don't know if that's true because it was the. Oh my god, that name is literally Kenneth, the first king of Scotland. Now, somebody's going to say it in the comment section in a bit anyway, because you're thinking about the first king of Scotland and his whole clique of the Dalriada and how they suddenly took the kingship and stuff. And people still today don't know what the story is. Like, how did they suddenly take all that? I heard some of Braveheart was shot in Trimcastle, which did happen. I was a small little child. Come around, children, and I'll tell you about a man called Mel Gibson. I was only 5 years of age when Mel Gibson came to my town, and he took away all the young men. That's the one. See, I knew somebody in the comment section would know the answer to that one. Anyway, back to my waffle. I was only 5 years of age when a man called Mel Gibson came to my small town of Mallow. And here he raised the men of Mallow and told them he was here to do battle against the English of England, and that he would push out the English of England out of Ireland and push them to the walls of Dublin. And so we followed him to Trim Castle. Well, actually, it was my cousins. My cousins were in the movie. My cousin's on the horse. Can you get up the horse? And who else is in there as well? So I have cousins that were on the horsey. And who else is in there? And on the siege of Trim Castle, there's a reenactor called Smiley Barry Gaynor, and I think Dave Swift is in there as well. He's on those lads are on the walls, trucking down the stuff, all the fire and stuff down onto the ram and stuff. So there's a whole load of lads up there that I know. Who else do I know who's in that movie? Is Mel Gibson Irish? He is now. Y'all thought he was from Australia. No. He's Irish. Right, where am I? Do you believe in the fairy and all the type of folklore? That was interesting as well. We had Dr. Ian Owen O'Neill on last week. He's back on this week for your Wednesday night. But I was talking to him, and what was he yapping on about? He was talking about the fact that the fairy folk are the Tuatha Dé Danann. So before the 19th century, they were just referred to as the Tuatha Dé Danann. And then the English came over and they anglicized all of the what we refer to as Celtic mythology. And so they anglicized it from Tuatha Dé Danann to the fairy folk. So the fairy folk and all that, those bits that we have today is just the anglicized version of Tuatha Dé Danann. Because you think about it, there's no Irish version of the Anglo word fairy and stuff. That's all kind of more kind of Anglicization of Irish. So you'd be looking more into the it is interesting because you can still track the evolution of our understanding of the Tuatha Dé Danann from the early medieval period to the 19th century, and the fact that people are still kind of interested with the Tuatha Dé Danann all the way up to the 19th, 20th century is fascinating in itself, you know. But do I believe in the Tuatha Dé Danann? Yeah, of course I do. The old fairy folk and stuff. Down from my old grandmother. Right, I need to fact check this, but I think at least some Anglo-Irish were technically legally English, which mostly only matters when they're holding when they're held in the tower. Yeah, that term, it depends. Oh God, no, you're making the complicated question even more complicated. Because, like, what is the definition of English in the 16th century? I need to look into, because I think, because I'm looking at it from perspective of the 15th century, because I've been looking a lot into the Wars of the Roses and stuff, and a lot of it is just kind of that blur of Anglo-Irish, and on top of that as well, just randomly, like, it's even weirder with Galway. Like, Galway is just like, well, you know, lads, we're like civilized people, so like we're English, aren't we? And they write a letter. They write letters to people saying like, "Oh, we're civilized English people. Look at them savage Irish outside the walls. Look, they're uncivilized because they live outside the walls of Galway. We're civilized." Like, what the hell does that mean, Galway? Like, okay, so we're now just defining ourselves as English because we feel we're civilized because we live in a city, Galway. Okay, roger that. Steal a little, they put you in prison. Steal a lot, and they make you a king. That is called a fact, but it also depends which cliques you're in, you know? If you're interested in all that kind of stuff, I cannot talk from a modern perspective because, you know who will come in through the door, and then everybody will think I just self-deleted myself. But if you're interested in that kind of stuff, I would definitely start reading the likes of the Italian Wars. I'd read the 100 Years' War on how to not do banking and war. So that would be a good place to figure out how to not go to war and do banking, which is the 100 Years' War. But if you want to learn about modern day power and politics, I would definitely start off with the Italian Wars. And if you want to know Ireland's connection to the Italian Wars, you'd want to study surprisingly enough, the Mona Lisa, the Fitzgeralds and their connection to the Italian wars. That's how you conduct history. But it's very interesting as well, because if you want to know about modern day banking, you want to look up, once you've known the basics of the Italian wars, you then want to look up banking, because, whoa, boy, that's where history suddenly gets quite exciting from a banking perspective, and who truly is in power, because then you could literally follow the rabbit hole, you know. Um, you can't. It's difficult now. I'd have to turn off all the power switches and make sure there's no bugs and spies inside my fire alarm or anything like. But yeah, if you go down to the modern holes, the rabbit holes of modern day, you can find some spicy stuff in there, like if you're going around saying that kind of stuff. Bum, bum, bum. Was it when they sacked York, or was it another clip? Yeah, that's the sacking of York by the old Willie Wallace. And when did he sack York? I don't actually know. I don't think I looked up one. I should actually go down and make a timeline from the Scottish perspective, because right now I've only looked at bits and bobs. Well, I wouldn't say I've actually read the whole thing to do with the Scottish War of Independence. I just haven't made out a timeline to do with the Scottish War of Independence, and I've done a lot of focusing in on the Scottish War of Independence, especially to do with the likes of the Battle of Dice O'Dea and stuff, and Phelim O'Connor's push for the High Kingship of Ireland, and also Edward the Bruce as well. So I have done a good bit of reading and stuff on it, but I do need to sit down and actually make a timeline on stuff. But I'll do it. I have to do it at some stage anyway, especially when we're going to be over in Patreon doing all them classes and stuff. Right. The Tuda really went from all powerful Irish gods to fucking fairies. Well, that's called the Anglicization, They have to become anglicized at some point so Disney can basically make money from it. Because it was Disney that pretty much rewrote fairy culture again, so might as well, it makes the conversation easier now if you just refer to them as Tuda de Danann, because if you were to say fairies in 2025, people think you're talking about Disney, because Disney then that hijacked all of it and re-edited all of it. They even threw the poor Irish American leprechaun in the bin, Irish American culture gone, chucked into the bin. Why? How? What? Speak it in the devil and he shall appear. The SAS are in the chat already, I'd be careful there as well, them suddenly inside your phone. How do you pronounce your name? Oh, Filippo Herda. That's how I pronounce it anyway. There's two other ways to pronounce it as well. But the one I go for is what was it, Filippo Herda? That's the one I mostly go for. But there's two other ways to pronounce it as well. So I went quite for a bit. Oh, that's grand. We're having fun without you anyway. No, I'm joking. Is that the Medici? Yes, it is. The Medici are awesome. Go down the rabbit hole of the Medici. You can go down. You can go as deep as you want with the Medici. So most of the time when people talk about the Italian wars, they talk about the Medici. Why can we talk about the Medici? Is because their family line have died off. They're gone. So we can go as far as we want with the Medici line. But there's other lines that if you go down too deep, you might get into trouble because they're still active. So if you are going down that rabbit hole, you'll learn a few things you wish you didn't know in 2025. So you want to be careful where you're going when it comes down to finding certain kind of information. Especially, did you not see that yesterday? That girl, there was a teenage girl in England who is now in the middle of, publicly, she is the lawyers. I was listening to a few lawyers and stuff to it, right? And they're saying there's more to it, right? But they haven't made any of that public. So officially, for the time being, in England, there is a girl who's arrested for seeing something online, and they haven't even said what she's seen, right? So she's on Facebook allegedly, and she's seen a meme. So they haven't said that she liked it. They didn't say if she shared it. They didn't say if she shared it to a particular person. They haven't said anything officially, So I don't know. So, yeah. And to be fair, the fairies are their own thing. Where was I waffling on about? I'm doing a lot of waffling. Wallace didn't sack York. That was added in Braveheart. Did he not, Susan? I'm confident he did sack York. Are you sure he didn't sack York? I'm really, really sure now he did sack York. Give me a second there. I'm probably wrong. Like I'm probably am wrong. Did Wallace? Yeah, actually, it was one of the first things that came up. In the film, Wallace sacks the north of England, city of York, during his invasion of England. In reality, Wallace did indeed invade the. Oh, actually, maybe I did get that one confused. I think I actually already knew this when I was a child, and now I've actually recently got confused with Newcastle. I knew that when I was a child. I knew that when I was 5. Yeah, you're right, actually, Susan. And what's funny, I knew that when I was a child. Memories coming back. Memories are suddenly flooding in. I've been watching that movie so much because I actually love Braveheart. I think Braveheart is class. But I've been watching that movie so much, I got confused over York and Newcastle. You're right. It is Newcastle. To be fair, the Irish fairies are their own thing, and they're violent as hell. Boy, Jesus, if they were real, I'd be far away from them. The two of the Dannon are real, boy. I was walking home one night. It was me and the mother were in the car driving home, and we just came back from a scary movie, and there was this weird leprechaun. By the way, everything was super foggy. Everything was super foggy, and we just came into Mallow, and where we're living. My parents are still living and stuff, right? And we're driving. We're on the road, and there's a wall. You know, the traditional stone wall, right? For anyone who's never been to Mallow, think of that typical Culshy stone wall, right? Not that big, not too small. I swear now, there was a little man on the wall. And as we're driving by, and this was like 1 o'clock at night or something, myself and the mother coming back from the cinema, and we looked over to the right, and there was a little man on the wall staring directly at the two of us with the creepiest smile ever. And my mom says to me, "Oh my God, I think that's a fairy." And I says to me, if it was any other situation, I'd be like, "No, I don't think that's the fairy folk. No, I swear that's the freakiest thing ever." He had the freakiest smile on his face as well, like, you know. Well, you were right there, Susan, with that one. No, it was me who got confused now with the whole fighting over in York because I've been watching that movie now for too long. And what's crazy is I knew when I was 5 years of age that it was Newcastle and not York. Because when, what was it? Because they were talking about how, and it caused a few arguments and stuff about how the fact that when William Wallace took Newcastle, he just wiped it. You know, he just knocked all of the community out of it. Like, the Medici are definitely important, but the Fitzgeralds claimed family ties with the Geraldini. I'm always butchering that Italian, by the way, so I apologize for that one. But yes. The Fitzgeralds are awesome. I love the Fitzgeralds because I'm a huge fan of the Wars of the Roses in Ireland. I need more time to read it. I've done tons and tons and tons of reading on 10th century Ireland to do with the Vikings. And I do need to, because one of my favorite periods as well is actually the Wars of the Roses in Ireland, when the Fitzgeralds and the Butlers were fighting over the title of Lord Deputy of Ireland. And how at the end of it, Henry VII proclaimed that was it Gerald Fitzgerald was king all but name, because that title, Lord Deputy of Ireland, was so powerful at the time, like especially after the Wars of the Roses. And then it was the Tudors, especially with the fact that they were rivals to the Fitzgeralds, that were trying to undermine everything to do with the Fitzgeralds and that whole Lord of Deputy title as well, and try to bring England more into Ireland and stuff. It's always fun to have more fighting and wars. They even took one of the future Kildare earls when he had to be smuggled out of England. Oh, did he? I have to look that one up. Outlaw King is mad as well. How's Outlaw King mad? I love Outlaw King. I absolutely love Outlaw King. It's definitely one of my favorite films of all time. One of my favorite characters, and his name literally just popped over my head. It is, oh my god, the Black Douglas. That's the one. Black Douglas is one of my favorite characters in that movie. Like, absolutely love that movie with a passion. Like, lad, you're not living in Ireland, are you? It's fecking. No, I'm over in Asia right now. Sure. Didn't I get the boot? Jamie, I got booted out of Ireland. They put me up. Was it the University College of Cork? Was like, that's it, lad. And they tied me up onto a boat, and you just kicked me off. And I've ended up in Asia now, lad. My favorite line in Braveheart is the Scots asking the Irish if they want to kill the Englishman. Oh, aye. Braveheart's so good. I haven't met a single Englishman that likes Braveheart. Not a single Englishman. They will literally rant and rant and rant and rant and rant about Braveheart. And it's actually one of my favorite films. A wee leprechaun. I would have ran out. He seemed like a friendly chap, except for the really freaky face on him. Like, it's weird. That was definitely like one of the very, very weird moments. I should have said it to it's another man's name that's popped over my head. Your man who specializes in all the fairy folk around University College of Cork. Oh, he's pretty much in. He's in Kilkenny like all the bloody time. His name now is popped over my head. There's other comments as well I accidentally missed. I'm just having a quick scan up to see if I missed something. Okay, I'll go back into the comments. What was it called? I think there's a new book out about that actually. What's the name of the book? I want a book on the Fitzgeralds. What's the greatest what if in Irish medieval history? Oh my god. The number one for me is the Battle of Stokefield. Oh my god, if we had won the Battle of Stokefield against the English, had captured York for ourselves, and then had pushed down south. Like, imagine if York was a part of England. If York was a part of Ireland, that would be wild. And then if they had pushed down south and put the pretender king in, the puppet king. If Ireland had a puppet king in England, like in the south of England, and just take over York and use it as trading with the English, that would have been wild. That would have been wild. Garrod Moore Fitzgerald. Garrod Great Moore. I wonder if that's great or huge. If they're playing it with more. It's a big, because I've seen more used in another name, and I can't remember if it means great or big or huge. Somebody's probably gone mad. I lived in Thailand for a couple of years. I plan going back to visit in the new year. Thailand is awesome. I need to get over to Thailand, especially all their architecture and their entire medieval history is absolutely amazing. They were one of the richest kingdoms in the world because of the trade network of the Silk Road going between India into Thailand and then over to Okinawa, where I am now. And then from there into China and Japan. They made so much money in Thailand. And then there's all the resources that are inside of Thailand. It's the same thing with Myanmar as well. Myanmar is another place where there's endless amount of resources and stuff. Philip, do you have the book Kildare's White Rose? Ooh, I don't think I do. I need to get that book. Kildare's White Rose. The White Rose of Kildare is the title of a historical talk and published booklets by Katrina. I wonder if I've been to Katrina's class, or is it a different Katrina? Oh yeah, I have it here. I do not have that one. I guarantee that book isn't even. They don't even sell that book anymore. It wouldn't surprise me. Kildare's White Rose. Oh my god, that book looks insanely awesome. That looks like one of them books they'll never sell again. Why am I so? Was this a new book? It only came out on August 20th. Why did I not know about this? Not sure which press it's from because my dad picked it up. Physical copy. Oh my god. Oh, mind, it's done by Minute. It's not even like a fucking random idiot's book. It's actually a proper book. There is no publication on it. I think it was just Minute doing a random thing after the lectures and stuff. It's one of them collector's books. Oh. I hate you. Well, I'm not. I don't hate you. I'm just very, very jealous right now that you have that book because it came with the Kildare's Titanic book as well, which is also a collector's book. I'm going to save the image of that book so everyone can see this one, so we all know what we're talking about here, and I'm not just ranting to myself. Actually, no, I'll just press this one. And then if I press new scene, media, and then if I click this one, and then I click presentation, no, it's images. And then if I go down, there it is. Yeah. It looks like one of those collector's books because I can't see it anywhere outside of Minute Bookshop. It looks like it's only a local book as well. But this is the strange thing as well, because I have these rare collector books as well from Mallow. Mallow has books as well, which you can't get anywhere else, especially to do with the Desmond Fitzgerald branch as well. I have a book at home that you can't get anywhere else on the Desmond Fitzgerald. Remind me when I see you to actually just rob that book from you. Just break into your house and rob that book. Bum, bum, bum. Not sure. I'll poke through the book and let you know what's in it once it arrives home. I do. Because I don't think they'll make any more copies of that, like, ever again. It's one of them once off. The key aspects of this book is going to be covering the Fitzgeralds of Kildare, a powerful family served Lord... Oh, my God, you... Oh. Yeah, straight away, very, very first one is the fact that they're covering why they're so powerful with that title, Lord Deputies. So they're literally covering the importance of the Wars of the Roses and why they had independent power. Yeah, why if they captured that title of Lord Deputy, why it was so powerful. Then they literally, oh my God, this is pretty much everything I bloody was after. The Minute Castle, it goes into detail of the Minute Castle. But here it says it's a center power for the Fitzgeralds, which, yeah, that's interesting. Especially when you have so many. I wonder if they'll elaborate on, what was it called? The importance of, I'm sorry I'm talking like this. My brain is thinking randomly. Just a second. Because there's a keyword now I can't remember. Assembly, that's the word. I wonder if they'll cover assemblies to do with the Minute Castle. That's interesting. And then you have the Wars of the Roses itself. So they are covering the Wars of the Roses in Ireland. And then we have the influence of the Fitzgeralds. Okay, Roger. Bum, bum, bum. I wonder if I ask my buddy if he can pick up a copy for me as well. Bum, bum, bum. Do I have anyone who lives in Kildare per se? I used to, but I don't anymore. Got me thinking. Anyway, yeah, it's fair if people believe in the gods, but me personally, I don't think evolution and magic can exist at the same time. When you look through all Earth's history, like, no way, man. There's just no way. No way, man. The gods cannot exist. History aside, should read Dracula. Oh, it's a good book. It's very interesting because it's used as propaganda against Romania to justify why Britain and Ireland shouldn't invade Turkey against the Ottoman Empire's invasion of Romania and try to independently liberate Romania. So for a very long time, from the late medieval period throughout, there's always this demonization of Romania. So that way, well, at the time, it was Vlad the Impaler's realm, which was the Principality of Wallachia. And so at the time, it was invaded by the Ottoman Empire. And so the Ottoman Empire then, what was it? What did the Ottoman Empire do? The Ottoman Empire invaded into Principality of Wallachia, and that it was pushing as far as Vienna into Austria, which was a part of the Holy Roman Empire. But the Holy Roman Empire and Burgundy and Italy didn't want to justify invading into the Principality of Wallachia at the time, but the Pope was giving them loads and loads of money. So they were trying to kind of con the system so they could pocket all the money and not justify invading into the Principality of Wallachia, modern day Romania. So they went off and they did a whole load of books and stuff to say, hey, look, actually, now that we have the money, we might cancel the Crusades because it's so evil. But let's go have parties instead. And that's what they did. especially the kingdom of Burgundy. Bum, bum, bum. And they were still doing it all the way up to the 19th century. They were still trying to justify reasons why they shouldn't invade the Principality of Wallachia. And that's why you have the likes of Bram Stoker's Dracula, which kind of digs back up Vlad the Third, and it kind of justifies ultimately saying, hey, look, they're pretty much demons and stuff over there. You know, we shouldn't get involved in our politics. I was watching a video about a Welsh island that has some history of being occupied by the Irish. I'm assuming, I don't know specifically the history of that one, but I'm assuming it's the Dacia in or around the Waterford area, the modern day Waterford area, where they have the Dacia who become the Murphys. And the Murphys were notorious in invading and attacking that whole area of southern Wales during the early medieval period, the whole period of Niall of the Nine Hostages. So around that period, you have the Dacia who were invading into southern Italy, and they were taking loads and loads of territory in southern Italy. So I'm assuming that you're talking about that one. And it translates to Old Irish House. Bum, bum, bum. Yeah, I think in part it was that technically the kingdom of... Oh, I need to look at that one. It was never conquered. I believe that's why it's so close to culturally survived. And I think there's like a plain words of Dublin or Dublin in Dublin, I think. Dublin, how they pronounce it, which is so sad. It's so strange because it sounds so similar to Dublin, which was also Dublin as well. I always look at those spellings around that area of southern Wales and Dublin and the Dacia area and stuff, and it's very interesting how they play on words around that whole area. I get that wee book from Eason's. Yep. Did you? Is the book is in Eason's? Can you get me a copy as well? Send it over to my mom's house there, will you? Aye, Captain. I'll leave the windows unlocked for you. Cheers. Life is good. During the Middle Ages, were ancient Gaelic festivals like Samhain quite timely celebrations? I assume so, with the old assemblies. Halloween is an interesting one because I always looked at it as the end of harvesting season. But Dr. Owen O'Neill was just like, how could it be harvesting season, end of harvesting season, if most of the harvesting season work was already done by the end of September? So the end of this month, you should already have all your harvesting work done. So why would they have a harvesting festival at the end of October? Is Dr. Owen O'Neill's argument last week. Which, fair enough, that's a good point, like, you know. But it's still the time when the cattle raiders come in and sow the cattle. The cattle comes in from pasturing, you know, so that's also a massive part of it. So I think it's a mixture of the end of harvesting season, cattle come in from pasturing, and so with that, the cattle raiders come in as well. So I think that's why they're having the big, massive celebration and party, which is Halloween, in the end of October. I think that's what's going on there. I don't know. I'd love to know what everyone else thinks about that. And also what you guys want me to elaborate on when it comes down to Halloween during the medieval period. And you go get some researching done for that one because you guys will be downloading videos on that soon. And that's also why I kind of want to cover cattle raiding as well as a whole for the live broadcasting. So we are all on the same page. I covered cattle raiding on Patreon. I'm sure I did anyway. So if you pay 20 quid, you can be ahead of everyone else. But of course, I'm going to have to go off and do more research and studying and stuff anyway, so I don't get tripped over by Dr. Owen O'Neill. But we are talking about on Thursday. It's Tuesday. Sorry, it's Monday for you guys. It's Tuesday for me. And then Wednesday night, which is going to be my Thursday, I'm going to be talking about Irish ring forts with him. So I have to go and do my research into, my research onto Irish ring forts. Once again, I covered a whole load of stuff over on my Patreon on Irish ring forts. So definitely go over there and check it out. Or at least have an old nosy on my Patreon as well. What other questions do you guys have on the old Irish medieval history? Do you guys have any more questions? I'll stick around for another 10 minutes or so. Do you know what? While you're trying to figure all that out, I'm going to head... What was it called? First and foremost. I'll give you something to look at while I distract you. Yeah, that'll work. Off a wee bit. And my chat has gone so dead. So I'm going to take advantage of all you guys by just... Yeah, that's the one. And if I click that one. And how's that pop up? Yeah, see, that's perfect. See, everyone's happy now. I can see if my dad can get an extra copy. If your dad can get an extra copy, you're a saint. Ask him how much it is, and I'll send you off for a free week or something. I don't know. See what we can do. What else? Because the topics in that one, Jesus Christ, that seems like something else. But I don't think he probably won't be able to get another copy. Just because he's probably busy as well. And also on top of that, it's probably all gone. So I wouldn't hold my breath. But we'll see. We'll see what we can do. While you're watching that, I'm going to quickly get myself a drink. Give me more questions. Ask me more questions. I'll put that up for anyone who's going to jump in. There we go. And then I will put that there. Oh my God. Right. Oh, you're a complete saint. Right. I don't know if you guys can still hear me or whatnot. I just found the video. It's about okay. Is that the one on Is that the one on the Icelandic sagas or something? Which one's that about? Because that name there reminds me of the old Icelandic sagas and stuff. It depends what era you're talking about. If we're talking about late medieval period, especially around the 15th century, cattle raiding is more popular in, what was it called? I'll just center myself again. There we go, that's easier. Cattle raiding is more popular in I'll just turn that off. Right, Roger. All right, so cattle raiding is more popular in the late medieval period. It's more popular in the northwest of the island, and you can see that by the way castles are built. Castles are built in the northwest of Ireland to protect cattle during periods of cattle raiding and stuff. So we can see that it is more popular in the northwest of the island. Plus, the northwest of the island is more kind of cattle currency, and it's the more Gaelic side of Ireland. However, in the southeast of Ireland, the terrain is also different. So warfare, although there is still cattle raiding, I can't highlight that enough. There is still cattle raiding happening in the southeast of the island. We can see with the development of castles and the terrain that it's more conventional style fighting. So it's more, shield wall on shield wall, kind of spear wall on spear wall, kind of that traditional knight kind of warfare. So you do see, the word Ridera appearing more, obviously, in the southeast of the island. You can see kind of more kind of peasants, although the word peasant is very, 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 very funny in Ireland, simply because the noble class is so mixed inside there that it's difficult just to have a definition of what is a peasant inside of Ireland. I have had this discussion before with other people and stuff, and it's funny when people use the word clansmen and clanswomen rather than peasant. It's sort of more fitting in a way. Not that I agree with the word clan, woman or man either, but it's slightly more fitting just because that the nobility is so mixed with the common people that it's funny just to brand everyone a peasant. It's a funny little society. And the reason why I say that is because in France, it is literally peasants are country people that live out in the countryside, and the nobles are city people that live in cities. It's so clean cut in France. But you can't, it's difficult to apply that in Ireland because the nobility live out in the countryside. Like the top nobility, like the Fitzgeralds and the Butlers, live with the country people. So it's funny, like. But yeah, to answer your question, cattle raiding it happened way more up in the northwest of the island compared to the southeast, especially when you're dealing with cities and coinage more on the southeast side of Ireland during the late medieval period. Was there a lot of international trade with the continent from ports like Dublin? Dublin would be very much connected with Bristol. So and that's why you've got a massive Anglo-Irish culture in Ireland is from that Dublin connection with Bristol. Then you have Waterford, which very much jumps on the side of the Lancastrians a lot of the time. And Waterford it's got its connections with England, but it's trying to really protect its wine trade. Like everything the men of Waterford do, it's really to protect our wine trade with France, especially with Normandy and Brittany. So every action they do is trying to always protect our wine trade. So their wine trade, number one. Then we have Cork Bay, which is a mixture of Spain and what was it called? France and England. So yeah, Cork is quite important for that type of stuff. Galway had Christopher Columbus. Christopher Columbus used to go over to Galway. So he's recording Galway, talking to locals and stuff. The local fishermen who allegedly were fishing as far up to Iceland, and rumors speak of them going up to Greenland and then into America and stuff. So, which at the time, Christopher Columbus taught America, well, what the locals were calling Vinland. He thought that was bits of Russia and Russia and Mongolia and China and all that kind of stuff, and Japan and stuff. Like he thought Cuba was Japan. So yeah, all the ports are very, very much connected. Because there's a whole thing on myself and Rachel did a whole load of videos on the Fitzgeralds, who were connected to like Cork and Youghal and Limerick, and their trade network into Spain, and then from Spain into the Geraldinis, and the whole link with the Mona Lisa and all that kind of stuff. So myself and Rachel did a wee bit on that. Sorry, it was gone. The Welsh. Oh yeah, that's more on the north side of Wales, though. It's interesting because I am aware of the south side of Wales and their connection to the Irish during the 5th century. But like, there's always connections between Ireland and Wales. Like, there's tons and tons of it. That's why it always goes under that kind of Celtic culture, the similarities between the Welsh and the Irish, which is always fascinating. Like, when did glassmaking become popular in Waterford? Because you're talking about Waterford crystals, which is a lot of money in Waterford. And I should actually know the answer to, but I don't. So you caught me off guard with that one. Do you know what? Let's go look it up. When did glassmaking become popular in Waterford? Because I should know that answer because I worked in tourism in Waterford. I did actually. I was doing the living history with the Vikings and stuff. So I actually worked with all that stuff. When did glass making come to Waterford? 1790. I see. That's why I don't know the answer. It came over in allegedly 1783. And it's absolutely gorgeous from the get go, isn't it? The origins of Waterford's glassmaking dates to 1783. Ooh, and it's got a connection to Cork by where I live, so I should have known that one actually. I was about to get away with it and say, oh, but it's out of my field of expertise. But then it goes back under Cork as well, with there being glassmaking happening in both Waterford and Cork. The Cork connection popped up in 1903. So you have glassmaking happening in Cork in 1903. A lot of the Fitzpatricks and the Fitzgeralds very much connected inside there, like fascinating stuff. Like, I'm just having a quick old gander about glassmaking in Ireland. Yeah, there's a whole Wikipedia page on Waterford crystals. It's on the Waterford crystals website. Like, well, their Wikipedia. Like, how many myths are associated with Brendan the Navigator? So you have the original Brendan book from, is it dated around the 6th century, I'm sure? If not the 8th century. You have the Brendan the Navigator. And what's crazy is that he was doing the old Brendan the Navigator stuff from the 5th century. So super early on. You have Irish people venturing up into Iceland over the Greenland, and then already so early on, trying to push from Kerry. So because they're starting off in Kerry, down the very bottom of Ireland, actually up where I live, trying to push from Kerry over to Iceland, Greenland, and then over to America, according to Brandon Navigator. So that's interesting, and there's a whole book on it. So you can literally read it and have your own interpretation. And then you too can join the argument, just like that. And then in the late medieval period, Brandon the Navigator gets really popular again. His story does. And so then you have a load of added in stories in the late medieval period to do with Brendan the Navigator, from what I remember. So if you wanted all the mythology and added stuff, it's definitely in the late medieval period. For what it's worth, I found interesting that my Scottish and somehow Scandinavian DNA both showed movement through Cork by probably holding my ancestor's hand, walking around the place, skipping, picking up the old DNA. Do you know yourself? Like, I knew the Fitzgeralds had their hands on everything, but somehow I'm always surprised by their scale. Yeah, those boys had big plans, all right. Like, they were definitely from the get-go trying to carve Ireland out for themselves, like, I reckon. It was just kind of always tripped over. They always end up tripping here or there, don't they? Because just when it's literally checkmate, bloody tutors are already on top of them. And the tutors end up just, taking up all their work, bastards. That's what the tutors are good at, isn't it? Right. This is gorgeous. I put some lemon in the water with the ice. It was absolutely gorgeous. Mm-hmm. I'm chewing on the old ice. It's nice. Welcome to my live stream where you'll be watching me eat some ice. What was the ice? All right. Oh, I missed one here as well. Did the Vikings ever invade Galway? Up around that area, they would have done the old Viking raiding and stuff. Viking raiding and trading, it's just not really built up. It's just not a prominent place at the time, raiding up around the place. Because like the main focus of everything at the time is the Enel territories. So around the main focus is places like Cashel, Armagh, Clonmacnoise, Iona. That kind of like the main focus during the early medieval period with the old Vikings and stuff. So Galway becomes super important at coming into the High Middle Ages. Once the O'Connors take over the Kingship of Ireland, then Galway becomes super important. And then Galway becomes important again in the late medieval period because of all the political moves they do, where they're kind of playing off the Burkes in a way, and also playing off the King of England and doing mad stuff like declaring they're English just randomly because, why not, boy? Sure, aren't I English, boy? I was always English. Big thick Irish accents on them, like. Because, why not? Like, you don't like the boys up the road in Sligo, so you're just like, sure, I'm English. They're not. Right. I stay down for another 5 minutes and then I'm going off. I have to go and do research on ring forts. Or should I have to do? I don't know, I think it's it. Well, in my story, they invaded Galway, but then, again, it's fantasy. I don't think Galway is built. You're talking about the other spot. Boom. You'll have to change Galway over to one second. I actually have the name here somewhere. It's not that name. Roscommon, was it? Could be, actually. I don't think it was Roscommon per se, was it? I think sure it's in another spot. Or maybe it was Roscommon. 1 second. I should know this, by the way. I was only looking at it a few weeks back. What's it? Was it Roscommon? So yeah, their main area now is Roscommon. But I don't think the Vikings would have invaded there. They may have raided around that area, but I can't see them penetrating the actual walls of the settlement because the men of Roscommon would have been way too big. Because this is the problem here, is that well, I can't even say that one. This is allegedly built in the 13th century. Then what was it before that? One second. Oh, no, I knew it was this one. I knew I was getting confused. No, it's this one. It's 100% this one. Duh. There you go. That's the actual proper one. Bum, bum, bum. And that's the Irish spelling at the time. Galway gets built up in the High Middle Ages, just going into once the O'Connors take over, they use it as their main port, and then they try to turn it. So their main area is the Roscommon and Galway area that they start to build up in going to the High Middle Ages. That's when those two places popped up. This is the main capital of Connacht before that. Um, I knew it was that one, but just couldn't get it into my head. I have another gawk around. Can I show the pictures? I wonder if it's a book. Books always look better on this one. Nah. There's an entire website, and it's an interactive website that I was looking at a few weeks back. If I can find the interactive website, because the interactive website is awesome. Let me pop around. Oh yeah, let me put the main one here. There you go. Me selecting a haircut? This thing's just growing all over my head. You do know that, like there was no like selecting haircut today. Like this is just me living off in an island, just melting. Like there's no like there it is. This better like there you go. If I had a proper haircut dressers in the Western style, this beard and everything would be done properly. Like I'm just gonna shave this off. I am off on a tropical island with very shockingly, from a Western standard, very very kind of. It's great. Like don't get me wrong. Like Okinawa is great for, Okinawan stuff. But when it comes down to Western stuff, like you have to remember, I'm on an island here. Like cut off from Irish style barbers and stuff. Why is that saying hide? Disclaimer, just change it. Just change it to that one. Where am I? Just change it to this one. You'll be sorted. What actually is Newgrange? Well, depends what era. It is, from my understanding, it's a tomb, isn't it? It has a bunch of bodies in there, but now they're debating what it is right now anyway. So, plus, technically speaking, it's out of my field of expertise, especially with people debating on the definition of what is Newgrange right now. I love to see Newgrange. I hear it gets, but like technically speaking, yeah, you're right. It is a tomb like that has stars and stuff happening in it as well. Anyway, I love to see Newgrange. I hear it gets lots of traffic though. Yeah, it's packed, and plus there's other ones as well you can go and check out. Great accent. Do you like my New York accent? It's quite nice. I like my New York accent. It would be profitable to keep no hair whatsoever. Then some god. Yeah, I should just bald. No hair on my head. I saw everything I needed in terms of Western culture in Okinawa. When I saw a shop was Okinawan stuff is really, 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 really awesome. Like ramen is class, and what was it called? Taco Bell is nice. Well, where the hell is they have their own version of Taco King here? And then what else do they have in here? They have Okinawan taco, and what else do they have in here? Sushi. They have like plastic sushi. I haven't been there. Weirdly enough, they don't do sushi as good. They do good fish. Don't get me wrong. Fish here is delicious, but they don't do sushi as good as you would get where what's it called? Yuki and stuff is from over in Nagoya, between that whole Tokyo to Osaka area, and then you've got like every little hidden spot in between that does amazing sushi. Sushi is one of those things that you want to do your research beforehand so you don't get poisoned, because there's the weirdest bugs around here when it comes down to sushi, because it's raw fish like. So you want to go and do your research before you go to a sushi place so you don't get like weird stuff in your fish. And also on top of that, the taste as well, of course. Like that's why you're doing your research, isn't it? Blue Seal ice cream is good. It's absolutely delicious. I'm addicted to it. It's only up the road from me as well. On their glass is gorgeous, and the Okinawan only Fanta flavor. Oh yeah, there is, isn't it? That's absolutely amazing as well. Addicted to it. I'm thinking, no, what food don't you see? I eat anything. You can dump me anywhere, and I absolutely love everything. What do I not like in Okinawa? I'm thinking food wise. Don't know. I'm mostly a horse most of the time when it comes down to food, and that's the problem. Like I am missing Irish food so much, but if I ever left Okinawa, there'd be so much food I would end up missing. What I have a craving for lately, though, is German food. Like, oh, I do miss German food a lot, especially with the different flavors and stuff they have with their pork. Like, oh, it's so good. So I'm missing German. German food is the number one food I'm actually missing the most. I do miss the German food. Number one food I am not missing though is English food. Beans on toast. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just not missing it. I miss Irish food. Miss German food. American food. Steak was good. What else did they have in America? Why is your comment keep going under hide? Who's hide messages? Who's on the hide side? I keep getting notification that someone's hiding their messages. Okay, so I might actually start tidying up now. If you guys don't have any more questions or anything, I will be back on maybe tomorrow. I'll be back on again tomorrow, perhaps. We'll see. I like good barbecue from Texas. You don't miss burgers. Do I miss American burgers? American burgers are good. What's the best American burger? Maybe I was dating a girl from Alabama when I went over to America the first time around. But she kept giving me, my mom was bitching a lot about her because she was like, okay, so where did she take you to go get food? Where did you get Christmas food? She got us lasagna. And my mom was like, what the hell? Like, what is wrong with that woman? Lasagna. She's American and she got you lasagna. Like, where the hell did you find her? But yeah, I dated a girl. It was Christmas in America, of all places, and she got me lasagna. Like, yeah. Fried bread is my favorite from here. What? White people food? America has so much good food. I just can't think of any right now. There's some great burgers out there, though, in America. I would submit to pretty little. You, Jim, we're gonna have to find you help. Awfully good to find, but you know. With the Americans there has to be some American food. I'm outside the American base. Most of it's inside the American base, and it's not deep. Like back in the 80s, there was tons of American restaurants in Okinawa, but it's not really booming the way it used to be. Okinawa is kind of switching between America to China now. You got a lot, like wow, in the last 5 years, there's so many Chinese around my area now, like so many. But yeah, America and Okinawa, not really the best relationship. It's funny. I won't talk about it here, obviously, because it's funny, as you all know yourself. With the Americans there, where is I? I'm American, so I'm biased. What's the best American food, guys? Jesus. USA has meatloaf and other things. Why is it every single time we talk about American food, we always get into a thing of, but I'm sure America does have good food. I'm confident America does have good food, but we always end up thinking of just the quote unquote white people food, as in, plain burger, Lasagna isn't actually, no way. What about proper Christmas food? America advertises proper Christmas food. Like, what the hell? No, it doesn't. We have American cheese. American cheese is a lot of cheese. America's notorious. Like, there's so many Americans out there. Let's just once they start chucking that cheese in, the cheese is getting like more. Forget about the other flavors. We got cheese now, huh? I'm sorry, every American food I've had has been mid to best. Confident there's good food out there. What is it? Really depends on where you go. New York, Italian American food. That's got good food. I mean, I'm not Italian ancestors, but it is rare to pass lasagna. But they don't even really eat lasagna in Italy. They have like Italian food in Italy, which has bits of lasagna, but you know they're not that mad. Actually had it tonight. Oh, it is delicious. White deer present has been traditional and Christmas meals. That's good food. Not gonna lie about that one. My dad always made, still today, my dad makes the best Christmas dinners, the greatest Christmas dinners. I visited 20 years ago when my uncle was an officer stationed there. My cousins grew up there in Okinawa, is it? Okinawa's good crack. I like Okinawa. It's always good to be in Okinawa when your own country of Ireland is having an old housing crisis. Let's decide to have no houses. And then let's invite people over with no passport into our country. I'm sure nothing will go wrong. Daddy, do you eat burgers, baby? I eat burgers. See, it's mom. My mom makes good food, but my dad makes better food. He's just good with food. Bum, 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 bum. American cheese. Yeah, yeah. Not gonna lie there. I've had American cheese, and there is kind of plasticky to it compared to like, especially Irish. I don't think you could beat Irish cheese. This is the problem here, and I didn't want to turn around and say, "Oh, Ireland is the best," but at the same time, dairy in Ireland is so good. Like Irish milk. Oh, yeah. I don't want to be turning around saying other people suck, but. Because the same thing when I'm in Japan, it's like, why is the milk terrible compared to Ireland? I don't know. Bum, bum, bum. Chicken wings. Can't bad talk them. Chicken wings is good in America. Chicken wings is really good in America, especially down in Alabama. I can't lie about that. Chicken wings in Ireland is delicious because of the chicken itself. The beef spices in Alabama are slightly better, perhaps. There is great food in America. Just do not. Yeah, the main restaurants are always good in America. I mean, chicken wings aren't. But everywhere kind of has its own chicken wings. I suppose it depends what part of America and the type of chicken wings you're talking about. Because when I say American chicken wings, then I'm thinking like that. Because you're also thinking regional as well. Like, what's the difference between New York chicken wings and Alabama chicken wings? Do you know? Gotta go. Soon to see you guys. I should be going too. One sec. I'll finish off all the questions and stuff first. Actual soul food is amazing. I need to go and enjoy soul food. Buffalo chicken, American food. Da, 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 da. I need to get more into Mexican food myself. That's where I really have lacked it. Oh, Irish cheese is so good. Like that fresh dairy feel. Like, ooh. I miss that's number one thing I'm going to drive in my mind mad in the head. I haven't had a fresh taste of good Irish milk in 6 years. My mind is starting to collapse. Bum bum bum. Mexican American isn't, but a Mexican is really good. Taco Bell. Is Taco Bell Mexican or that kind of Californian Mexican American food? The tea bag was made in the United States of America. I could buy. Kerry Gold is so good though. So good. The fact that people from around the world now have started to switch over and try to, like, you've heard of people smuggling cigarettes. People smuggle Kerry Gold. Like, people go to Kerry to purchase it and then smuggle it to their country. They get like entire like baggages and stuff and try to sneak it into their country. Like, I've never heard of any other food, people doing that with any other food group. I hear people of doing that all the time with cigarettes, with other objects, wink, wink, alcohol. But I've never heard of anyone do it with food until I came across Kerrygold. And even when I was doing tourism, every once in a while, you might see some tourists just packing an entire suitcase with Kerrygold. Like, America as a continent has good food. Yeah, as a continent, it's absolutely is good. But I think it's certain you still want to go into the nitty gritty because it's local food that's the greatest in America. The chain, as somebody said earlier on, like the chain food is hit or miss. But the local food, that's where you find the little bits and bobs, like proper New York food, proper Alabama food, proper Florida food, and other bits and bobs in there too. There is really good American cheese. It is hard to find outside. Mm. Bum, bum. Washington. Wheats count. I'm butchering that pronunciation. Cheese in the United States. Yeah, you see, this is where you go into a proper conversation of where in America does have proper food, but it's not even like this is just uniquely to America. It's the same thing in Europe. Like, if you want good food, you want to do your research, beforehand. I think like you should even just do research in your own local area. You should wake up on a Saturday and say, okay, I'll research my local area and find out what's actually decent in this spot. And you'd be surprised, like, because I think most people forget to do it. They end up living this kind of 9 to 5 job, and then they forget that stuff is developing around them. So it's always good, to go and see your local history stuff and to taste your own local food, because then every once in a while there's someone who comes along and says, "Oh, what do you guys eat locally?" And then you're sort of like, "Oh, I don't know what my area is famous for." But then on top of that, the government right now is trying to get rid of all that stuff, and they're trying to just wash everything away. So we're all just on the same brand. All them small family businesses, they're all getting wiped out right now. Bum, bum, bum. I buy Kerrygold butter too. Kerrygold is so addictive. I've known more men who could cook better. Jim, are you digging holes? Why do you like to dig holes for me? Do you want a shovel? I don't have a backyard there, but I can bring you over to the park with a shovel, and you can dig a load of holes over there if you like. Yeah, I said it because my Thai wife always said chicken wings were the best in America. I imagine the best spots right now, because of the amount of, would you call it, multiculturalism? That movement between Mexico and Asia and America itself, within California, Texas, and kind of Las Vegas area. Would they not produce the best chicken wings right now, just because of the amount of movement and competition that's going on in that area? Or am I wrong? Because I haven't even tried out. I'm just guessing, just because the standard between the Mexicans that are hanging around that area, making that high standard of food, with the Americans, with also that high standard of food within them communities, and then also on top of that, the various Asians going in there as well and mixing in with the old American chicken wings, is California, Las Vegas area, and also on top of that as well, the whole Texas area. Would they not produce the best food for chicken wings right now? I don't know. Yeah, Irish cheese and butter. Oh man, it's the Irish milk I miss the most right now. So Taco Bell is Mexican American food. It goes so bad and slow. I'm moving right now. Didn't I ask that like an hour and a half ago? I'm gonna do America, Team America. Where am I? Taco Bell. Something top of your house like stick, huh? Cheese smuggling. I haven't seen anyone ever do cheese smuggling. I've seen butter smuggling. I've actually seen butter smuggling with my own eyes. Like, just getting a suitcase. And I've seen this multiple times in my life with no other food. Oh, actually, potato crisps. I've seen the old smuggling happen there with the old potato crisps. I think everybody knows what it is. Like, even when you're recording, people make full-on YouTube videos of them smuggling potato crisps. Like, it's just something everyone knows at this point. Like, potato crisps, Kerrygold, and bread for some reason. They can't put the milk inside there. Man, what I would do for some Irish milk right now, like, honestly, like, any milk around my area of Munster, like, oof. But we've got the Golden Vale around. What the Golden Vale is, it's where all the everything that grows in my area of Munster is just like insanely fresh. I don't know what it is. There's just a real insane fresh taste to it. So it's called the Golden Vale. And there's people from around the world during the summer just buy food around that area, like dairy food in particular. So like chocolate and everything is just, it's not the cocoa itself, it's literally the milk that makes Irish chocolate so good, in my opinion. Do they have a black market? Who has a black market for that kind of food? Local food is so good. Just gonna quickly fly down. Because I have all you guys hungry now. Hungry hippo. You don't. Taco Bell is one of those ones, isn't that? Though it is still cheap plastic food ultimately, like Taco Bell is. Oh. I'm addicted to pork as well. Wouldn't mind trying that out. Yes, they did, didn't they? And I still haven't tried out this Irish Taco Bell. Yeah, Ireland has its own Taco Bell now, and it's doing all kinds of mad stuff. If you haven't looked up Irish Taco Bell, it's the American Taco Bell brand, but it's in Ireland. Just have a look to see what the difference is. So, there needs to be some American. There's a video out there for any American that needs to fly over to Ireland, go to the first Irish Taco Bell, and see what the difference is between Taco Bell in America and then the Mexican American Taco Bell in Ireland, and see if there's differences in the food. Because sometimes keep to the script, and then sometimes they just go flying off. And I can see Taco Bell in Ireland just doing its own thing. I guarantee something will happen there, especially with garlic chips and cheese. If they did garlic chips and cheese Taco Bell in Ireland, things will go wild. I can see Taco Bell changing quickly in Ireland. That start doing its own mad thing. But Ireland, dude, the potato crisp went so fast at my last. Addicted to potatoes. It was the same last time. My brother came over with a whole load of potato crisps, and they were gone so fast as well. Like, you're all making me hungry, especially towards Irish food. I suddenly just have a craving for Irish food. I already had food before I went live as well. Yeah, they do. That's a YouTube video in the making, like, and it literally just got there, right? It literally is just in Ireland now, and it's like, no, I'm so curious. What's going to end up being? I'd love to bring an American in there to see if they've gone off menu and what the difference is with the taste like. I'll go to Taco Bell in Ireland, and if a friend insists, go there. Yeah, you all need to go there now. I'm so curious. What's the difference between American Taco Bell and Irish Taco Bell like? If my dad forgets, I'll send my brother sticking there. Well, yeah, your brother at some stage will have to go to Taco Bell because he's part of that whole clique, isn't he? Though. Oh my god, Irish Taco Bell. I better be able to get corned beef taco. Imagine. I don't think you'd be able to get corned beef Taco Bell because corned beef. If you can't get that in Boston, because corned beef is Irish American, it's not Irish. So if you can't get that in Boston or New York, you won't be able to get. You definitely won't be able to get that in Ireland. But what you might be able to get in Ireland is, and I'm interested if they ever do bring it out, which is Garlic chips and cheese. If they bring out the moment Taco Bell brings out, if they haven't already, brings out Garlic chips and cheese, that's it. All bets are off. There'll be so much Irish food in there. It'll be wild. Do you know? There'll be tato crisps, Taco Bell. Do you know? Just Taco Bell with tato crisps in there. I need to stock up on dairy goat butter. Yeah, here I didn't say to go smuggling anything. Do you know? Yes, but I like real Mexican food in Mexico. There's a spot in Cork. Street is it? There's a. It's one of them famous. There is a famous Mexican food restaurant in just up around where Waterstones is in Cork. There's a Mexican restaurant up there. It's good. You know, it's still working with local food, so I wouldn't say it's it's Mexican food, like, but you know, it's using local Irish sources, like, so it is what it is. Anyway, I think I answered all of your questions. Kind of turned into a big one on food, but you know, the conversation is what it is. Okay, as soon as I see you, lads. I am on. What am I doing this week on Patreon? Oh, I'm doing the second part on Siege of Dublin. So if you guys are into the Siege of Dublin, head on over to my Patreon, or at least have an old nosy anyway, and have a look on my own Patreon. And also, if you want to support the channel as well, have an old nosy on there and support the channel that way. And also on top of that as well, what do I need to do? Oh, I have to go do my research. Why? Because Wednesday night for you guys, we're going to be covering Irish ring forts with Dr. Owen O'Neill and Mihal from Clans and Dynasties. So that's what we're going to be doing this week. That's going to be on Wednesday night. So other than that, guys, thanks very much, and Slán go Alia.